Okay, this is day
14.
Hi, good evening. So I welcome you all to day 14, session 2. So this is a session about letter writing. This is in continuation with where we left last time when we were doing descriptive test. So I did essay last time. This would be letter. It's going to be a very short session unless you ask me a few questions. Otherwise, the agenda is it's nothing. It's going to be very short. Before I start with this, again I'll give you a couple of minutes to just type. If you have anything in your mind when it comes to letter writing, because there is I do not want it to be a monologue. It will not be a monologue. It will be just very basic, some very basic things, and I would just share a format of writing a letter with you. Fine. So if you got anything in your mind, any query, anything, just type there. I'll just take it up accordingly. Then just write it there. I'll just take my notebook and I'll take a note of whatever you say. So anything you say would go there into the session. Format is fine. Format is, in fact, that's the only thing that I wanted to do today. Yes, Sonal, I'll share the format. Anything else? Yes, I'll share the formats. Apart from formats is there. That's the only thing that's there on my agenda today. Word limit, formal, informal, I'll talk about both. Okay. Adi, I'll share the format. Do not worry about the format. I'll share the format. I'll talk about the word limit as well. Left, right, you said. I'll talk about that. Okay. Number of paragraphs. Right. Anything else that comes to your mind? Okay. Time for writing. Okay. I'll talk about that. Okay. Whether formal or informal. Okay. Right. Anshuman, I'll do DI class probably tomorrow or day after, so don't worry about that. Just focus on this. We'll finish this up very quickly. Salutation, I'll talk about. It's all about format today, nothing else basically. Introduction. Where should your introduction come? Okay. प्रोफाइल पिक्चर कैसे लगाते क्या व्हाट आर यू टॉकिंग शिवानी? How to conclude? Okay, typing speed is not a problem, never a problem. So I got a gist of what you want to ask. That's okay. So I'll start with this. The first thing that I'll do is all of you understand how is it like. They'll give you a choice between 2 or 3, and most of them would be official letters. So personal are there, but not to the extent. I mean, when you get choices, there'll be more choices in official letters and less in personal. And official letter is something where I think you've got less to write, and it's more about the format and everything. So if you want to finish letter writing up very quickly in 10 minutes, I think official is the way to go. Formal may you'll have to, I'm not saying it's difficult or anything, there's no format actually. So my assumption is that in an official letter they'll give you something for the format as well. So even if you don't write well, probably just by following the format and grammar and vocabulary and punctuation, you'll score well, because there is not much to write in a formal letter, though there are multiple kinds of letters that way. The reason why why I'm doing this session differently today is that there is no one official letter as well. So if you look at it, there can be a complaint, there can be a resignation, there can be a request, there can be an explanation, there can be a persuasive letter, there can be an invitation, I mean congratulatory message. So there are 10, 15, 20 types of communications that can happen, and your letter is going to vary accordingly. So there is no strict rule when it comes to number of paragraphs and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly vanish from the screen first, and I'll just show you a format. Look at that. So this this should answer most of your questions. Now just look at this format. I'll explain this very quickly then. Just look at this format. I have just made this in order. I did some research on it. So this is the format for an official letter, a formal letter, official letter, or whatever you call it. So 70-80% of your topics would fall into this, and this is the one that is to be followed. Fine. So you just look at it. I'll explain everything here. So if you want to remember, so that you do not forget everything when you are writing, these are basically, I think, 10 points. So I'll explain on 10, and then we'll just see a format and wind this up. So this is okay. First things first. If this is your page, let's say this is your page. So that's an electronic page now. Everything that you write, you would write from the left. Fine. So the current format said that everything that you write, we write from the left. In your school and everything, you'll probably have written something here, something here. So you can write here, but it's all text then, all paragraphs. So anything, any address, anything, your salutations, everything is indented to the left. Fine. So everything is aligned to the left, and there is no indentation. So the current format says, so if you're writing like this is a question that people keep asking. So if this is the place from where the line starts, you start writing from here and not from here. So this used to be followed, but I do not find it anywhere else. So I think it's obsolete, kind of obsolete. You write from the very beginning, you write from here. So for example, I'm just erasing this and showing it to you. If it's like this, and if we talk about this first part, so this is again slightly unusual in the sense that you might say that in some of the earlier letter versions, your address would be below this thing. So if you are saying you are Mr. ABC, your address would come here. No, so that's not the format that's followed now. In an informal letter, there will be absolutely no need for writing something like this. In a formal letter like this, you start with your address. So it would be something like this: 10 Baker Street, whatever Nagar, this. It ends like this. So this is the place where your address comes. So this is on your top left alignment. Remember this, it has to be, I don't prescribe stuff, but for this I'll need to prescribe certain things. It's always left alignment for everything in this. Nothing goes to the right. Just remember this. Formal, informal, everything, that's the current format. Another thing that you should remember is we used to write 2. It's not used anymore. So you do not write a 2 here in the letter. So the first thing that you write here would be this address. After that, I'm coming to number 2. Just remember it like this. If you want, you can give it 10 minutes later and mark this up. So this is number 1 in this. So number 2 would be your date. It comes right below this thing. So your address, and after that would be your date. The date format that I prefer, and that's the most standard, most basic format would be this. So this is what? This is May. So you'll write May 1st and then 25, 2017. That's the format that's preferred. That's better than writing 25th May. There is nothing like that. You can write this, but you can write this, you can write that. But the best format, or the format that goes anywhere, would be this: May 25, space 2017. Just be very careful with your punctuation. I'll tell you something very basic. This will come in handy for your essay writing as well. When you are using commas or anything, for example, I'm writing this. Let's say anything. I write this 10 Janpat. All of you know what this address is. If I'm writing 10 Janpat and I'm using this comma here, there will be no space before the comma and a space after the comma. This is something very basic for any punctuation mark. Just remember this. Likewise, if there is a full stop, there will be, for example, I say, I write something, there is this full stop here, and then I start saying something again. So before this full stop, there will be no gap, and after this full stop, there will be a single gap. So this is true for any punctuation mark. Just remember this, use it, because when you are writing, it's not that apparent. But when you are typing and you made a mistake like this, it looks extremely stupid. So if I let's say I have to put something between this and opening here. So if I put this comma here, then this is fine. I'm not saying it has to be put. I'm just telling you, if there has to be comma between n and opening, it comes right after n, and the gap would be here. If you put this comma before n and there is a gap here, it looks extremely awkward, and it's correct in the form of punctuation. So just remember this. Let me erase this and tell you the next thing here. Fine. So that's about the date. You write it in the format of May 25, 2017. Fine. So that was your number 2 here. After that, you leave a blank space. Fine. So these two come together in the sense that you write your address first and then your date without any gap. After that, there is a gap here. After this gap, you write the designation. If it's an official letter, there's a good chance there will be a designation here, and the address of the recipient. That's the next step here. Fine. So you give some space here, just one line space, and the recipient's designation and address. So it will be something like this: the police commissioner, whatever city, state. It goes like this. So your date was here, May 25, 2017. Your address was here, fine. And after that, a gap, this gap here, and then this guy here, fine. So that's the third thing that comes into this. So this is number 3. So your address first, then the date, and then the recipient's designation, or if it's somebody who's known to you personally, then you can probably write the name as well, but that generally goes, so you write the designation and the address here. So that's the third thing in this. After that, once you have written this, comes the salutation. Salutation is what? Salutation would be something like, dear sir. If you're not sure about the gender, you can write sir/madam. Fine, you can use this. Now this is the part that comes after this police commissioner thing. So another space here, some slice. Do not worry, I'll show you the format. Just first understand this. So after that, if you're not known to this guy, the police commissioner, you will write dear sir. If it's a female, you'll write dear madam. If you're not sure of the gender, you'll write dear sir, madam. So that's called salutation, and you write it like this. Isme there is something I wanted to tell you here. I mean, I think respected is now hardly used. I mean, it's not used. I don't know if somebody already typed that, whether we write respected or not. Probably if you're writing to Mr. Modi, then you use respected or honorable or something. But generally respected is like considered a little too formal. Fine. So probably if you're writing to your teacher or your headmaster or something, then it'll go. But in most of the official letters, I mean, in corporates and everything, you will not write respected. Dear is considered polite enough. So use your discretion here. I would not prescribe anything. But in cases, in real life situations, at times respected would, will be a little too much. So you can write respected, you can write dear. As per the context, it's not something that I should prescribe. Take a call on that. Fine. So you just write it like this. Let me just erase this and tell you something more about salutation only. There are two ways that you can use this. So one would be the way I said, dear sir. Now at times it happens is that this person is known to you. For example, even if it's, let's say, the police commissioner or the district magistrate or somebody, he might be known to you personally. Fine, you might be knowing him. So let's say his name is Naveen Chawla. Let's say that's the name of the guy. Fine, if this guy is known to you, fine, and I'm not saying he's a friend, but he's known to you, you have met him a couple of times or something. So you might omit this dear sir and use this dear. Just be very, very careful with this, Mr. Chawla. Fine. Or you can use dear Mr. Naveen Chawla as well, but that's the best. Use the surname with this Mr. or Miss or whatever. Fine. So that's the standard format for this, but this is to be used because the situations are described there. Fine. So this is to be used when you actually know the person a bit. So then you use this, otherwise you stick to dear sir or ma'am. Again, no strict rules, just guidelines here. Fine. So use this and you use the surname with Mr. This is not permitted. People use this is incorrect. I mean, I don't know if there is something like incorrect, but that's something that should not do. Dear Mr. Naveen. That's not the way you write. You write dear Mr. Chawla. Okay, so somebody said that Mrs. Suraj objected to being called dear. अरे यार मैंने पहले से बोला ना, if you're writing to the prime minister or somebody of that kind of designation, you can probably write respected or something like that, but dear is like fine in most of the cases. It's fine with me. So just be careful with that. So you would not want to get a return letter saying you are being impolite or rude, or you are being like too presumptuous or something like that. So just be careful with that. Use your discretion here. I already told you. Fine. The important part is you do not write Mr. Sushma, or you would Mr. Sushma. What I'm saying, Mrs. Sushma. So if you have to write there, you will write Mrs. Suraj or something like that. If you at all you want to use that, fine. But in those cases, you use stuff like honorable prime minister or something like that. So honorable defense minister, honorable home minister, something like that. But then these are exceptions. I'm not talking about these kind of official letters. I'm talking about official letters that you're writing for a complaint. It's a resignation, or it's something like that. So that kind of letters that I'm talking about, a request, a complaint, a suggestion or something of that sort. In this case, this will do. But Mr. or Miss or Mrs. with first name looks very awkward, to be avoided. So use this dear Mr. Chawla type of format. Okay, so this was number 4. Let me erase this and tell you the next step. Can we omit dear? You can omit dear. You can omit dear, but so you are saying you do not want to write respected. You do not want to write dear. This is it. So you are saying Mr. Chawla. I mean, yeah, I'll say don't do this here. I mean, it brings certain kind of politeness to it, putting dear here. So if it's a a very very close friend, so you can just write Sumit or Naveen or something and then start. But here you can use this. Even if you write Mr. Chawla and start, there is no problem with this. There is absolutely no problem with this. Somebody is saying there is gap between solution and solution. What solution? Salutation. Okay, there is a gap between salutation. I'll show you the format. Do not worry. Just keep listening to me. I have made a format. I'll show it to you. Fine. So that was number 4. We come to number 5 now. This is subject. Now this is again an area of contention. People say you have to write subjects in an official letter. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. ज़रूरी नहीं है. It depends on the context. I'll give you an example. Just think about it. Let's say, अच्छा, सबसे पहले let's talk about where you put it. So let's say you have written dear sir. Fine. So subject comes here just after this. Some Americans, again, there's been a lot of talk about Americans and British doing different things here. Some Americans put this over this as well, but will not do that. Will stick to the format. It comes here. And when it comes to subject, I'll tell you when to write, when to not write. Subject is either in bold or in not italics, generally bold or underlined to highlight it. Fine. Just think about it. What is the objective of putting a subject here? The objective of putting a subject is that if you've, let's say, written 250 words here, just by looking at the subject, this sir should know what it is about. So you write subject when writing a subject actually makes the job easier for you, to put the message across. So you write subjects in stuff like this. Let's say it's a complaint. Fine. If it's a complaint and it's you bought some stuff and you have an order number something. So if it's a complaint about the product or the service, you'll write in subject order number this. So it's kind of mandatory here in this case. If you do without it, there's a chance that your application or whatever complaint it is, it's not noticed. This makes it conspicuous. Fine. So that way it's visible, your order number or complaint number or whatever it is, and it's advisable you do it. But if it's not something like that, then you may choose to skip it. If you think you do not feel like writing it, you may choose to skip it. It's not a necessity that you write a subject here. If you write a subject, either underline it or put it in bold. Fine. So this was number 5 here. I'll show you a sample letter. I mean, just the format in which I've put this here. So don't worry about the spaces and all. After that, when you have put the subject, your body starts from here. So the letter right after this thing, right after subject. So dear sir, madam, salutation, whatever it is, then the subject and this thing comes. So this is your number 5 here. This is your number 6 here. So this 6, 7 and 8 is actually the body of the letter. Or have I messed up the numbers? No. So this is 6, 7 and 8. Yeah, that's the part, that's the actual body in which you are actually writing the stuff. So if you looked at it, this 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, this is nothing basically. I mean, this is all nothing. So you can follow this very quickly. So I think you'll get a few marks just for following this format only, and that's the reason I'm saying you might prefer this official letter over a personal letter, in which it will be more of a test of your writing skills. Fine. So now this is the actual letter, and for this it can be anything from 125 to 200 words. There is no strict rule. If it's an official letter, it has to be short. 150 words is like perfectly fine. Even if you go up to 200, it's okay. But I'll want it to be short, because you have to be very very crisp to the point in an official letter. Now, how would a leave application look like? Just think about it. It's actually very small. You'll not exchange pleasantries or anything there. So it's very small. But still, let me just erase this and explain this to you. If you talk about this, I have divided into 3 parts. So this is an introductory paragraph, this is the body, the main thing, and this is the conclusion. It's not again something that I'm prescribing. Generally it should be like this: 1, 2, 3. Fine. So this 1 comes right below the subject, if there is a subject, or right below the salutation. So in this you actually introduce yourself. So you start by writing something. I'm writing this to karke, and you can do anything. I'm writing this to bring it to your notice. You write things like this. Let's say you are writing to the police commissioner or district magistrate, pointing out a nuisance going on in your area. Then you can actually write something like this: Fine. So if you if you have to write an official letter, the first thing actually introduces it. What you are going to talk about. So if the person does not know you, you might also say I am this and continue. So this introductory paragraph talks about that with an opening statement. An opening statement in an official letter generally would be of the form I am this, or I am writing this to do this kind of a statement, and it's like very short. Fine. So if you write something like this, let's say I am writing this to bring to your notice a nuisance going on in our area, or I am writing this to bring to your notice that in our colony this there are no street lights, something that. So you're basically introducing a problem in this. So it can be one or two statements, just that. So after that, in the second paragraph, you actually elaborate on the problem. So if you actually talk about in this first one that this is about the street lights not working in your colony in the first one, in the second one you will actually elaborate about the problem. That this happens because the street lights are not working. There are burglaries, people trip down. I mean, it's very inconvenient to move around. It's very difficult for the strangers and stuff like that. Are you getting me? So if you introduce the problem in this, you elaborate it slightly in 2 or 3 sentences in the body of the letter. So that's the structure. So 1, you introduce; 2, you just elaborate in 2-3 sentences. This is it, not much. Now comes the third one. In the third one, it's the concluding paragraph. So if you are talking about a complaint of this kind, I'll just divide it like this. You introduced the problem here, just the introduction of the problem plus your intro. You elaborated here, okay, and in the third one you just ask them to take an action on it, just that. So you will say, sir, I will not sir here in this case, we would be glad if you do something on this. So you are probably making the suggestion in this case. So it's this is I'm talking about a complaint in this case, so I'm giving this you format. Otherwise if it's of a different thing, you'll change it slightly. But if it's a complaint of something, you'll just introduce the problem here, elaborate in the problem, and then you can probably give a suggestion here. Important thing that I've written here is this opening statement here, which I told you would be like what, and a final comment here. So in this third paragraph, when you end it, it should be something like this. Generally, I mean, I'm not giving you 3 or 4 or 5 options because then you will start copying it, but it generally is like this. In a formal letter, the last statement of this concluding paragraph is generally of this form. I look forward to hearing from you. It's a very common one. I mean, you must have read it hundreds of times. I look forward to hearing from you. Fine. It's used in all the senses. I mean, in all the situations. You can write it to an official in an official letter, in a complaint, and in whatever thing you think there is an actionable. You can write something like, I look forward to hearing from you. Another thing can be, please look into the matter at the earliest. Fine. So it depends on the context completely. So there is no exhaustive list which can cover this up. Please look into the matter at the earliest. So this is again something that can be used in something like that. So there is no standard format, but as far as these 3 are concerned, this opening statement should be good, which in official cases should be something like, I am writing this to do this vagara, and this concluding is should be good, which should be like, I look forward to hearing from you, please look into the matter and do the needful as soon as possible, or something of that sort, and then it goes like this. So this is till number 8 now that we have discussed. Now number 9, I'll again erase the screen and explain this. Now this is number 9, signing off. Signing off is exactly that exactly that part that comes right above your name. So signing off can be of different kinds. Ones that you must have heard of would be this, regards. So this is the one that we use most commonly. If you want to be a bit more polite, then you can write kind regards. You can write warm regards. Fine. Best regards. All this is acceptable. All this is fine. Fine. You can just write best as well. Best means best regards and nothing else. You can just write best. I like it. It's short and sweet. Fine. So you can write all this. This works best now. What used to work earlier and still works, I'm not saying don't use that, but I find this regards thing good enough, is this: yours faithfully and yours sincerely. Fine. So these are 2 that are still used. Fine. A little less, and this is, I mean, used a little more now. So letters, maybe there are types. So there is a proper formal letter, a semi-formal letter, something like that. So you would never write this to a colleague or your boss or something, yours faithfully, yours sincerely. No. So I mean, if it's somebody who you think is at a much higher position or something like that, then you can probably use this. Otherwise, this works fine. When it comes to yours faithfully and yours sincerely, there is a difference that you should remember now. Again, this is more of a convention, that's why I'm telling you. These two are perfectly safe, just remember this. You write yours faithfully and yours sincerely in, in two different cases. I told you about salutation. So if you are using this Mr. Chawla wala format, fine. So if you are writing Mr. Chawla format here, then you use yours sincerely with this. Now this is a prescription because it's told. That's why I am kind of telling you about this thing, that if you are using this Mr. Chawla format, this is yours sincerely. And Devarshi Siriki, you have a problem yaar. Why don't you leave this stream? I do not understand. Why are you making stupid comments here? Just get lost. You got this? Yours sincerely, Mr. Chawla. Yours faithfully goes with dear sir, dear ma'am. Already got this? So this can be used as a prescription. Yours faithfully can be used with dear sir, dear ma'am, or has to be used with dear sir, dear ma'am. Yours sincerely is generally used with when you are using the name. So if the person is slightly known to you, use yours sincerely, and if the person is not known, you are using this format, dear sir, madam, use yours faithfully. Now do not ask me why if the person is known to you, you become sincere, and if the person is not known to you, become faithful. I mean, my guess is as good as yours. I mean, I don't know, it's followed like this, but there are some things that are better followed like that. So just use this. So this is about signing off, and let's come to the last part here. Okay, your name. When you are writing an official letter, it has to be like this. So you will write this complete thing. It has to be like that. Abhishek Gupta. It works like this. You do not write Abhishek, you do not write just the surname, or you do not, generally you do not use any title as well. But doctors and all use it. So you can actually write Dr. Naveen Chawla. You can do that. This is acceptable. This is not a problem. But generally omit this title, not required. Just write like this. Another thing that I wanted to tell you here is that in your address, this is some question. This is the question also that somebody asked. You do not use your real address. Never use it. I think this is not advisable because of because they do not want you to reveal your identity or something. So this is not to be used. Even your name is not to be used. So just write anything here. Do not write a stupid name. Just write any arbit name. If you want, you can even use XYZ or something like that. But that's okay, fine. But your real name is not to be used. So that's the broad format of a formal letter, which is the letter which in all probability you will be writing there. So I'm now going to the next screen. If you have a question here, just ask me now. I'll go to the next one and show you a sample letter now. Let me just read your comments also very quickly. If you have a question, just keep and just type it there. Okay, commas you are talking, commas I'll tell you, I'll show you in the next screen where the commas are used. Just type anything else that comes to your mind. Okay, sir, commas after address, I'm telling you, I'm just showing you the, Anupama, I have not got a sample letter here, I have got a sample format, I'll show that to you, do not worry. Thanking you is actually not required. Supriya, you can write that. I'll just show you. So let me just go to the next one and let me show you a sample format here. So you'll get a very good idea of what it is about. So this is a sample format. Just look at this. If you've got any questions, type now. I'll answer that. So that's a sample format. 80-90% chance that you'll be using the same format in this. I'll just explain that to you. This was number 1 that we talked about. Fine. You can look here that there is no gap between this and date. So this is number 1, this is number 2. That's the format of the date. Take a screenshot or do that with you, but this is the format to be followed. So just 2 or 3 lines for the address. Do not waste much space here for the address because it does not count toward your word usage or something like that. Okay, I will talk about this vocab and everything, but this is the format that you broadly use. So it's the address here and then the date. Fine. So these are the 2 things that come in the front. After that, there is a gap here, the gap that I talked about. After that, the designation and the address of this guy, the recipient. Fine. So this is the third thing that we were talking about. I hope this is okay with everybody. So there is no space between them, then a space, then the address and the designation of this guy. If you do not want to write this, you can also replace this with the name if you want to. That's acceptable. So this vice chancellor, if this guy is known to you, you can actually write Mr. So. That's okay, completely okay with this. Then a space here after number 3, and then these two things come together. Fine. So dear Mr. Sharma or dear sir or dear ma'am, it works like this. So there is a space here and then it goes like this. So dear Mr. Sharma, dear sir, there is no gap between subject and this thing. So this subject here can be in bold or it can be underlined, whatever way, but this has to be highlighted. Now in this you can see here that I have actually taken a reference of for this application number, something like that. So if it's a order number, application number, complaint number, something, it is mandatory, it needs to be written. If it's not something in which there is some very specific thing that you would want to mention and underline in bold, you can skip it. So it depends completely on the letter type. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to put it or not put it. In an informal letter, it would not come, obviously not come. Many things would go in informal letter. I'll talk about it briefly after that. Fine, but in this letter, it's completely up to you if you want to put it or not. The body starts from here, right after this. Fine. So whatever you write, if you're, let's say, writing I am writing karke, yahan se, if you're writing something like that, I am writing this, so it comes right after this. So there is no gap in this, no gap in this, no gap in this, and you can start writing straight away after this. So there is absolutely no problem. If you want to take a gap in this, even that is okay, but these gaps are to be taken care of. Now if you want to ask something here, ask me now. So 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph, 3 paragraph. It's not required that it's just 3. It can be 4 or 5 as well. It can be 2 as well. So there is no, again, hard and fast rule. But the example that I gave you was working fine with 3. Generally 3 is okay. It can be 4 or 5 if you write very very short sentences. But generally 3 is the number that should go with. Here it is warm regards, which can be replaced by, in this case, with yours sincerely, because I have written dear Dr. Sharma here. So I could have replaced it with yours sincerely as well. And you can see that there is a comma after warm regards. So this is the exact format. If you look at this, notice the commas here after 328, after Windsor Street, after this thing, after Tata Nagar, Birla Street. You can see the commas everywhere. All the punctuation should take care of. Dear Dr. Sharma, a comma after that. Warm regards, a comma after that. Do not do stupid things like if you write regards here, fine, the comma goes here. No. If you are writing regards, the comma comes here, right after this. Fine. So this is important, and then followed by your name. This is the exact format. If you've got any question, ask me now. There is nothing else in a letter apart from the format. You know how to write it. I mean, the last time what we discussed was much more than this thing. This is just 2 or 3 paragraphs in writing. Any question now? Tell me now. Space between gap. I did not get your question, Rahul. What are you asking exactly? Shashank, I am not familiar with this thing, but I think Control U and Control B, etc. should work. They work in most word processors. No indentation anywhere? No. As far as I know, no indentation is required now. Nothing is required. Ritu, if not highlighted, marks will be deducted. Ritu, why would you want to do that? Yeah, you can do, I mean, I think you can underline or highlight or mark it in bold. If it's not working, then not work for anybody. Why bother? I think there will be a way to underline. If there is no way to underline, leave it like that, no problem. But if there is a way to put it in underline or bold, that's the way you generally do it. Okay, let me read a few of your. Comma after vice chancellor? No, generally no. I have not seen that. I have not seen that. No. Word limit? Yes. Word limit. I'll say 150 is your number. Fine. So if it's 140, it's fine. If it's 170, it's fine. Generally, when you write, you do not count it like this, but it should not be 250. They'll be like too long. It should not be 100. It'll be too short. If there is no way to underline, it's okay. Do not worry about that. It's generally done. If there is no way to underline or make it bold, just forget that what I said about this. Do not do it. But generally, it's done. Okay. Let's talk about vocab. Use very very simple language. Very very simple language. In a letter, it has to be like extremely simple. Do not use fancy words at all. In a letter, it's, when just think about it, when you write an official thing, do you use fancy language there? No. And another thing is that I'm just asking you to give it 10 minutes. Fine. So for this thing, 10 to 12 minutes, at the max 15, not more than that. Letter is probably the first thing that should start with. So not more than 10 12 minutes. Do not waste time over this. This can be done quickly and it can give you good marks. I think you would get marks for format. Definitely. Word limit is only for body part, because this is all nothing, no. So that's why I'm saying it has to be around 150. Should do. टाइम इसके लिए 10 से 15 मिनट, ऑलरेडी सेड, नॉट मोर देन 12-13 मिनट्स. Anything else you want to ask? Ask me now. Is there a gap between date and sender's address? Yes, I already told you na yaar, that's the gap, that there is a gap. Yeah. Is it necessary to write from and to? No. Where is from and to here? There is no to, there is no from. What I have shown, let me make it clean. This is the format. This is the format. So your first paragraph comes here, that's your second paragraph, and that's your third paragraph. 1, 2, 3. That's the format. You write it exactly in the same manner. If you want, you can put gaps in this, but keep it uniform. So if you're putting gaps here, put it between all the three. If you're not, it's okay. But put a gap here, so it does not look very cramped in that sense. But otherwise, this is it. You do not use this to, you do not use this from. Generally, you do not write this thanking you as well. If you want to write it, I don't have a problem with that. But the issue is that, then there'll be two such signing offs. So you'll write something like that. Thanking you, regards, and then your name, something like that. It looks slightly awkward. There is another way that people do it. People write this as well, thanks and regards. That's also okay, but generally it can be omitted, not required in this case. Salutation, if you ask me, comes before the subject. So it's salutation first, then the subject. So in this case, I've written this. This is your subject. It comes after this. Americans prefer to put it here. I'm just telling you again, Americans prefer to put it here. We don't. Fine. So for us, it would be generally after the salutation, but I do not think it's going to cause you major problems. In all the books and everything in India, it'll generally be put after the salutation. Anything else? Shashank, I already told you substitutes for warm regards. Yours faithfully, yours sincerely are the two best that you use. People use your truly and vagera, but not really required. You just need to write one letter. So just write yours faithfully, yours sincerely. You don't have to leave a gap on the left. Full stops, yes. Full stops, yes. That's punctuation, basic punctuation. You have to use them after every line, absolutely. Can we start with anyone's letter or... Yeah, I don't know why you're asking me to repeat those same things. If you write yours faithfully, it comes in place of this warm regards only. Nothing goes to the right. If you have joined late, then watch it again. Nothing goes to this side. Everything is aligned left. Everything. And when everything is aligned left, you do not leave space. So if that's your left, then you start writing like this. I am writing this. You do not like this. I am writing this. Are you getting me? It's written like this only. I hope this is understood now. Okay, I'll give you a list of letters. Do not worry. Rahul, बताओ क्या पूछ रहे हो? I'll be highly obliged for your help. Consideration can be written. Yes. Look, I am not prescribing anything for the simple reason that there can be 10 things that can be written. This is a sample format. Just follow this format. Fine. I'm not asking you to do anything else. Just follow this format. Put anything in the body. It does not matter. It's just 2-3 very, very small paragraphs. You know how to do it. Just follow this format. I think you'll get half the marks for this format only. After you change the paragraph, you have to write again from the left side. Yes, Supriya, absolutely. Spelling mistakes, a strict no. Any spelling mistake in an official letter is a disaster. For house number, you can also write house number 423. You can use this hash as well. It works to save space. Anything would do. We can start with anyone letter descriptive. Praveen, I would generally advise to start with a letter. The reason is simple. Letter is easier to write. I mean, you can see now I'm just talking about format, but there's nothing else that's worthy to be discussed here. Essay is more challenging. So I would advise doing this first and wind this up in 10 to 12 minutes and then go to the essay. Probable letters list I'll share with you by midnight, so I'll put it in this thread on this video in the description, in the comment. There'll be a pinned comment and you'll find a list of 10, 15, 20 letters that you can practice on, and I'll also put it on our FB group in a pinned post. Fine, so they'll be there by midnight in both the places. Body in one paragraph. This is something that I wanted to talk about. Some people insist that in this they'll just write one paragraph. It's not a great idea. If you just write this in a one paragraph, it becomes very, very cramped. Fine. So I'll suggest break it up at least into 2. So if you are not very comfortable doing 3 or 4, break it up into 3. 3 is the number for me. If you ask me why 3 is the number, you introduce in 1. So this is very, very simple. You elaborate in 2. Anything it can be, and you say thanks or something like that in 3, and then wind up. So that's why 3 works best in a letter of like 150 words, one paragraph, you can do it. I'll not advise that. You can get half the marks for the letter format if you ask me. मामी गामू सेज इट्स अ वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम. अरे यार चले क्यों नहीं जाते हो यहाँ से, कितनी बार बोलूँ आप लोग को. ये क्या आज यहाँ पर कुछ लोग पीछे लगे हुए हैं कि आज क्या कर रहे हो यार, नहीं पढ़ना तो चले जाओ. कौन किसने बुलाया था आपको, इनविटेशन आया था आप लोग के पास में. ठीक है, so this was the official letter format. Now let me just also tell you a couple of more things when it comes to an official letter. You understand this word contractions. Contractions means something like this. For example, I am writing this. So if you are writing this, so contraction means if I just write this. In official writing, this should be avoided. Now this is one rule that should remember. In official writing, this should be avoided. Fine. So if I am writing should not be, so official writing, that's the preferred format. This is not to be used. I hope you got this. This is called contractions. So avoid contractions in official writing. So this is one thing that I actually wanted to tell you for this thing. So if you're writing, write this in full. In official writing, that's generally the preferred format here. Okay, let me just very quickly show you the format for the personal letter as well. So in the personal letter, this thing goes. You won't write this. It's not there. Date comes at the top. Fine. So I'll tell you the differences and show you the format. So date comes here. It remains like this. There is no such thing like this thing. So this address goes, this address goes, this address goes. Fine. So you start with the date and then directly with the salutation, whatever it is. So it can be dear mom, dear dad, dear friend, not friend, dear whatever the name of a friend, and there is obviously no subject here. So the format becomes very simple. The date comes first, then the salutation, and then the body, which will in case of a personal letter should have 3 to 4 paragraphs, and then you sign off and then your name. In the name here, it hasn't to be a, it need not be a full name. In fact, it should not be a full name. It should be just Naveen in this case. So you do not introduce yourself as Naveen Puri when you're talking about talking to your mom and dad. So it has to be just your first name here. And when it comes to this thing, regards can be regards as well, or it can be something like something more informal, like you can say all the best. Fine. You can say take care. That's acceptable. What else can you say? You can say all the best. You can say see you soon. Fine, that's okay. And if the person is like very familiar with you, very friendly, very warm with you, you can also just write this love. Just be careful with this. Fine. So these are the signing offs that you can use in personal letters. Let me just move to the next screen and show you the format. It will look very bland. There is absolutely nothing in it. This is the format. Just look at it. If you have any questions, just ask me now. That's the format for a personal letter. Kshitij, the space between paragraphs would be just single enter, single click on that, whatever that space is, never more than that. Real name is not to be used, Sachindra. I am telling you for the 5th time, not to be used. Real address, real name, not to be used. In formal letter, we have to write will or shall. Shall का use बहुत कम हो गया, Supriya. Shall is rarely used now. You can write will or would, both would work. Fine. So I'll just explain this format quickly. This date comes first. So this is number 1. Then your salutation. Here in this case, it would be something like dear Vivek, dear mom, dear dad, or something like that. Very, very simple one. Fine. If there is somebody to whom you do not want to write dear, you can just write this as well, Vivek, and then you can start. So this is also okay. This would be fine. So there's just this number 1, then this number 2, this is number 3, which I already told you with the 3 or 4 things with which this can be replaced, and this is number 4, and that's the thing. Now if you look at this, this is different from an official letter in the sense that there is hardly any format here. You just take care of these 3-4 things, it's done. So the marks that you get would be on your paragraphs only. So that's where the important commonsensical thing is. If you are actually not sure about your writing skills, you you don't think you write very well, because the language for this has to be different, then you should stick to an official letter, because I am 100% sure that they would give you something for the format as well. So I think it's common sense, stick to that. If you think you can write well and you have a problem with format and everything, you don't want to get into it, you can score wonderfully when it comes to writing, then you can probably prefer a personal letter. So that's the rule of thumb that you can follow while writing. I hope this is okay. Any other question, please type now. राहुल इसमें एड्रेस नहीं लिखना है, बार बार मत पूछो, दिस इज द ओनली थिंग दैट यू नीड टू राइट. एक बार फिर से देख लो, नंबर 1, नंबर 2, नंबर 3, नंबर 4, ओवर. दिस इज अ पर्सनल लेटर. Nothing else is to be written here. Fine. So 1 paragraph, 2, 3, 4, whatever the number is. Again, no rule here. I'll say 3 to 4 paragraphs, since there is nothing else in the body. Another thing, personal letter is slightly bigger than the official letter. So if I'm saying that the average for that is say 125 to 170, that's the average. Fine. For this it can be probably 150 to 200. It's like slightly bigger than this thing. The reason is very simple. You do not waste any time in body and everything, in the format and everything. So it's all body in this. So that's the reason why personal letter would be slightly bigger in this. Shani, you can write the name as XYZ. Fine. There is absolutely no problem if you use this format. But use a hypothetical name, na? Vivek, Sumit, Shalab, anything. How does it make a difference? Any other question? Please type it now. Can we use contractions in essay? You don't use that in formal writing. Essay में कर सकते हो, personal में you can absolutely use it. My only advice is do not use it in official letters. Gap between last paragraph and signing off. Where are you talking about? Okay, this thing. You can put this. So whatever is the format, let me just erase it and show it to you. Let's say you are writing from this. Fine. If you are writing from this thing, so that's your first. Then you are writing and you're not putting any gaps here. Fine. If you're not putting gaps here, then don't put a gap here. If you put a gap here, fine. Another way would be that you, let's say, put a gap here. If you put a gap here, this is your first one, then this is your second one, this is your third one, and in case there is a gap here, there is a gap here, there is a gap here, and there is a gap here. Uniformity is to be maintained. There is no rule as such. I hope you got this now. So if you are putting a gap, put it. Fine. If you're not putting a gap, don't put it, but there should be uniformity. If you put gaps here, it looks slightly, slightly better, slightly neater. So I generally put it. You can put it. There is absolutely no harm in this. There is no gap between this thing. Anything else? Okay, somebody asked if there is an account information or something like that goes in the subject, generally in the subject. Fine. Subject is for that only. So if you are mentioning some account number or something, you just put it here. Fine. In the subject body, account number. So your subject can be like this: complaint number this, account number this. So that takes care of this thing. And since this is highlighted, generally highlighted in real life letters at least, it's taken care of. You put it here. Another way can be, I think I can get where you're coming from. At times you put it here as well. Fine. It can be done here, but if you talk about the formats, it does not talk about this thing being put here. ऐसे तो एक और भी change है ना. If you derive that, you at times put your phone number here, but I'm not asking you to do that in this case because the formats don't talk about it. But if when we write to all these complaints and everything, we generally put our phone numbers here. So you can do that because there is no other place to put a phone number in the letter. But for this, especially for the purpose of this writing this letter for your exam, don't put it anywhere. It's not required. Signature and official letter, how would you do it? You are just typing it, so just go with your name. Okay, anything else? A couple of more things that I wanted to tell you here. Just remember that. Just a minute. Okay, a very pertinent question. Somebody said कि अगर informal letter में address नहीं होगा तो जाएगा कैसे? So if there is no address in the informal letter, but how would it go? That's good, yaar. I'm very happy with your logical reasoning skills. The address would be there on the envelope, so it's just the body that we are talking about. Fine. You should be able to differentiate between the two. So when I am talking about the official letter, this address that comes inside the letter is different from the address on the envelope. In an official letter, it's put at both the places. In an informal letter, in a personal letter, it just goes on the envelope and not inside. I hope you got the difference now. The address is there on the envelope, on your email or whatever. In an official letter, it goes inside as well. That's the difference. Yes, it's like a word processor. Akshay's screen would not be very different. Don't worry about that. Yeah, so I was about to tell you something else as well. The language of a formal and informal letter is slightly different. I'll tell you how it's different. For example, look at this part, this is important. In an official letter, you will write sentences like this: please respond at the earliest convenience. And this is acceptable, this is desirable, and you do it all the time. I'm just giving an example. Now just imagine you doing this to a friend. I mean, there's a good chance कि गाली वाली देगा कि क्या लिख रहे हैं. Please respond at the earliest convenience. So you know, the language actually becomes different when you are writing informally or to a friend or something like that. So you would not write a sentence like please respond at the earliest convenience in a personal letter, informal letter, but you need to mug this sentence up when you're writing an official letter. This comes in handy. Likewise, the same goes for I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to hearing from you goes only in an official letter. Just remember this. Let me think of a couple of more like this. For example, if you write something like this: get back to me as soon as you can. Let's say that's the sentence. Now, get back to me as soon as you can. कहाँ जाएगा? Can it go in the official letter? No. Get back to me as soon as you can would definitely not go. So it has to be like this. So get back to me as soon as you can is the replacement in a personal unofficial letter of this sentence. Or a sentence like just think about this. It'll be great to catch up with you again. So this can be, I'm just giving examples of lines with which you can start or end it. So it'll be great to catch up with you again can come right before your salutation, your signing off. Fine. So before your name and signing off, you can just write a line like this: it'll be great to catch up with you again. So in case you are writing to somebody whom you met, you like the person, you would want to catch up again, so you write informal lines like this. Fine. So just be very, very careful with the language. It's slightly different in this case. Another example that I'll give you is in case of a request or something, please look into the matter is also something that's very, very commonly used. So just take a note of this. You'll find hundreds of sample letters on the internet. Just go through them, but just keep them in your mind. Please look into the matter is again something that's very, very commonly used in case of official letters. And okay, another thing that I thought I'll tell you, in case of a personal letter, you can make a start like this: it's been a long time, it's been a long time since we caught up or something like that. It's been a long time we chatted or something. So this starting and this end, this changes as per the nature of the letter. So it will be different from official letter, it will be different for a personal letter. So just keep that in mind. There is nothing else here. This is like very, very basic stuff. I'll just look at any of your other questions if you've got something else in your mind. I think this is pretty much it. This is what I wanted to share with you. If there is any other question now, just share with me. Otherwise, I'll wind this up now. Okay, another question I am keep getting again and again is the word limit hota hai, this 150 word limit, this is including the format and everything or not? Yes, generally including the format. That's why the official letter is slightly smaller. Do not be very finicky about the word limit. If you write around 125 to 150 words, barring the the formalities, that's good enough. That's good enough. It should not be very long. Since all this is not there in a personal letter, that's why personal letter is slightly longer. I hope I answered this. Or kuch hai, just how many marks for the letter? If there is a bifurcation like this, I do not know. Probably something less for the letter, 30, 20 or something like that. Anything else? Enclosures, if required, can be mentioned, but generally in all the topics that I have seen, you will not require an enclosure like kind of a thing. Guys, there is no strict word limit, so do not be finicky about the word limit. So I mean, मुझे ऐसा लगता है आपका ध्यान writing से ज़्यादा word limit पे है. No, word limit only means that do not write a 300 word letter or a 250 word letter. If it's 180, it's fine. If it's 130, it's fine. Word limit is not religious. Understand? It's not sacrosanct. Get this in your mind. Okay. Anything else? The screen is like a simple notepad screen, fine, like a word processor screen, and there will be a word counter as well if it answers all your queries regarding that. My advice to you remains the same. You will get hundreds of sample letters over the internet. Fine, the body and everything is fine there. I told you the format because format is something that varies. So stick to the format that I've shared with you. I'm prescribing this at least for this exam. When it comes to the matter, you will find hundreds of sample letters over the internet. Just go through them, you will get it. Another thing is very rightly pointed out by Nitish. You have a time limit as well, na? So you cannot exceed that time limit. So you have to complete 2 assignments in 30 minutes. So you will not be able to exceed that word limit easily. Typing speed is generally not a problem. Believe me, typing speed is never a problem unless you are like very, very bad. राहुल आज सर को इनफॉर्मल लेटर लिखते हैं. राहुल लिख दो यार. I mean, put it on FB, mail it to me or whatever. Supriya, what is your comment? I missed it. Supriya. राहुल लिखिए लेटर, जो लिखना चाहता है लिखिए मेरे को लेटर. डू नॉट एक्सपेक्ट मी टू गिव यू अ डिटेल्ड फीडबैक ऑन दैट, बट आई विल डेफिनेटली रिप्लाई. कुछ और है तो पूछिए, अदरवाइज विल वाइंड दिस अप. यू हैव टू गो बैक टू स्टडीज. आई हैव टू गो बैक टू वर्क. Will typing mistakes be able to erase? If you are talking about an autocorrect, it's not there. An autocorrect is not there. Fine. So you have been spoiled by Word. An autocorrect is not there. You can obviously correct it yourself. That's there. You can make changes in words, guys. This is different. Oh God. So that's a confusion. This is not like writing. I mean, what is the difference between writing and typing? Writing you'll have to make notes first and then write it, because otherwise you'll do cutting and all. So this is different from what you did in school. This is typing. If it's typing, you can do all kind of editing that's possible in any word processor. Mind it, it'll just not give you autocorrect or something like that. Otherwise you can type it the way you do it. Otherwise that's possible. That's okay. Spelling error count होगा. Spelling error करना ही नहीं है. You don't have to do any spelling error. Postscript is not required in all these letters. Yes, Tuhin, your concern is right. Tuhin says that it's a 3.5 hour test. So this happens after 3 hours. And believe me, after breaking your head for 3 hours for those difficult questions, these 30 minutes are actually torturous. Fine. So there's a good chance that you will actually not be able to do well in the first 2-3 minutes. Do not worry. My advice would be this: you start with a letter. Fine. You start with a letter. Give it 2-3 minutes to just jot down your thoughts, which topic to select and all. Fine. Around 10 minutes to write it. After that, just give 3-4 minutes to thinking about the essay, and then around 12 minutes to write it. 10-12 minutes, whatever is left, and then it's done. Fine. But it's actually tedious. 3.5 hours at a stretch. मेरे सर में दर्द हो जाता है. It's difficult. Not very easy actually. Fine. I think this is it. Can I call it a day then? Cut, copy, paste will work. I think it works. I mean, somebody else can answer who has taken the test. I have not. I think it works. मेरा email ID is abhishek@meritshine.com, but do not expect me to answer, because the number of mails that I get, it gets really difficult. Sachin, please watch it again. I mentioned अपना नाम कब mention करना है. You have to mention it towards the end. Absolutely towards the end. Okay, my bad. The microphone was switched off. Fine. so what I was saying is that I'll wind up here. Okay, I was not audible, my mistake. When I was saying that this is it, I'll wind this up. This is an easier thing to do as compared to writing an essay. I'm repeating, do not worry. This is an easier thing to do as compared to writing an essay. So focus on it, just write 10 or 15, it'll be much easier for you to manage it. Write an official one, that's my recommendation. Write a letter first and then go back to the, and then go to the essay. This writing is much easier than essay, so just focus on it. I'll share a list of topics with you to be done by you for practice before the mains exam. So we'll share a list of some 10-15 topics that you can practice. The list would be not representative or not exhaustive in any way, but we'll give you just some juice to think upon and practice something. So it'll be there on the comments of this video by midnight and also on the FB group. It'll be there on both the places. I was talking about tomorrow's session. It'll most probably be data interpretation tomorrow. Fine. So again, probably 2 sessions. We'll announce it by tomorrow. Afternoon? What sessions would it be? If not tomorrow, DI would happen on Friday, but it would happen either tomorrow or day after. I know that you've been waiting for it for too long. So either tomorrow or day after, data interpretation is going to happen, and we'll keep doing all these sessions, a lot of other sessions for the rest of these 8 to 10 days. So do not worry, we are there with you. With this, I'll take your leave. If there is anything else, just ping me. Just do it, or FB, or just write to me or whatever. We'll be able to answer that. So I'll take your leave now. Not waste much of your time. If there is anything else, please do write to me. So I'll just move myself from the screen. We'll see you again tomorrow sometime. We'll let you know. Thank you very much for your patience. Do practice it. It's an easy thing to score marks on. Wish you guys all the very best. Thank you.